know if this is going to work, but we're going to try it because reasons. So here's the deal. Been thinking a lot about like what I think about romance in books because I have opinions. I always say I don't like romances, and that's true in the sense that a romance is a story. The story is guy meets girl, they get together happily ever after with all the stuff in the middle. That is the definition of a romance. But I always say I don't care if a book has romance in it, as long as it is a natural outflow of the story rather than the whole story, right? And so that's why I discovered I liked rom-coms, because their metal water bowl does that when the temperature gets shifted enough and it drives them nuts. Anyway, so I don't know. I don't know. And so I decided I really wanted to look at this and try to figure out why my dog is escaping. Anyway, I'm trying to figure out what it is. And it really boils down to, that's the thing. If it is a natural part of the story, instead of feeling like it was inserted for the purpose of being a romance, then I don't mind it. And because of that, I realized that there is a genre, I'm sure you saw it in the title, that maybe, just maybe, I would like the romance in, because it to be romantasy, you have to have a strong fantasy element. Otherwise, it's just a romance set in a fantastical world, as opposed to, you know, kind of like romantic suspense is supposed to be at least 50-50. Mine never is. But it's supposed to, that's the genre expectation, right? And so I was like, you know, at least 50-50 for this. Well, I've been hearing people talk, and I realized that there's an awful lot of them that the romance part, at least in Christian/clean fiction, the romance part isn't always even up to the 50%. Sometimes it's more, but sometimes it doesn't even make it that high. And when I realized that, I was like, okay, I need to try this. So I've been planning this video without all that thought. So I was talking with author D.M. Griffin, who wrote Cerulean Rose. I shared this the other day. I was talking with her last, was it summer or fall? I don't remember which. She had a high fantasy, like 10, 11, I think it was 11 book series, high fantasy. And she said she needed a break. So after she got done with that, she decided to write a standalone romantasy. And her son actually made the comment that, don't you know that stuff is not clean, Mom? And she was like, I thought I could get away with it, but now I'm kind of worried. I'm like, no. There is clean romantasy. This is a thing. And so I said, look, once it's out, I will, you know, because it came out in February, right? It's like, I will do a video on different, you know, why not? Because I knew I was going to read her book. Well, this gal is neat. Her one-off became a trilogy, and now she has another trilogy that I think is also romantasy. I don't know. See, she does things how all authors should and don't, usually, including me. And I'm proof as to why you should. She writes the entire series several years before she's going to even release the series, much less write the whole series before she releases it. We're talking several years. Right now, she's writing books that aren't going to release until like 2030. I mean, they're just like way in the future. And it's so smart. So all of these books are written, they're up for pre-order, they're all, there is no waiting. And because of that, she doesn't always have to wait a year between each one to release them. It just tends to be a few months. And she's just got it planned, and it's all great. So she's DM Griffin / Demi Griffin is, she uses DM for biblical fiction. But totally off topic, freebie for you here, she has biblical fiction coming out about some guys who were there at Pentecost. And I have got to read this series. It's the first time I've been this excited about anything remote. I mean, I got crazy excited about biblical fiction when I read Cunnilingus Cassette's I said it wrong. Connie Lynn Cassette's Shelter of the Most High, which is like book 4 in a series or something. But I read it first. I loved it. I'm like, I could get behind this kind of biblical fiction. Well, this is exactly what D.M. Griffin is doing. So anyway, as Demi Griffin, she just came out with Cerulean Rose, and this is why I was planning on doing this series all along, but it kind of morphed into, instead of here are some that I have heard about, these are the ones that I have found over the last year that I actually want to read. So just throwing that out there. So Cerulean Rose, I've already said what it's about, but I'm going to do it again in case you haven't seen that and you're just here because you want romantasy. So it says, every rose has thorns. Hidden in a tiny cottage away from the ordinary existence of Cerulean citizens, Arl lived a simple life with her father in Sabian woods. Or Sabian, one of the two. Anyway, when he is struck by a serious illness, that ordinary life suddenly became extraordinary. In search of a physician, Arl breaks her promise never to leave the woods. When her path crosses with a mystic, the manipulative Duchess, and the Prince of Cerulean, Arl realizes something beyond her simple quest to help her dying father has mapped out her journey. An ancient legend about a brotherly rivalry that resulted in tragedy stirs up the fates guarding Cerulean. If the Cerulean Rose doesn't bloom again, the kingdom is destined to perish. A wild path filled with romance, mystery, and intrigue shapes Arl's heart in ways she could not have imagined as she gets sucked into the legend. Would it be enough to restore the foundation of true love that established the kingdom of Cerulean hundreds of years ago? Could a simple girl satisfy the fates, capture a prince's heart, overcome a king's prejudice, and save Cerulean's rose? So anyway, again, I got the hardback because I loved the cover. This is available on Kindle Unlimited, and the reason I want to read it isn't just because I talked to Demi. I like the idea of this being kind of a Beauty and the Beast, Cinderella, and other. I can see even some kind of biblical stuff coming on here, which kind of fits if you think about what she also writes. But that's why I want to read it. But also because I'm just really so impressed by Demi, and I would want to support her anyway. But this story sounds amazing, and I'm excited because, to me, when I read that back, it's all about the love of a kingdom rather than a romance between two people. The romance has to be there in the series somewhere, because otherwise it wouldn't be romantasy. But I love the fact that there's more to the story than just guy meets girl. So that's the first one. It's the only one I actually have a physical copy of. But guys, when I went looking for the links to the other ones and stuff, I found that several of the ones that I had on my list are on sale right now, or they were as of Thursday morning at dark:30 on Audible. I was on Amazon through Audible, but I was on Amazon now that I think about it. Anyway, so just saying, there are those. I'm gonna put these on and find. All right, let's find the next one. So the next one I have is Common by Lori Lucking. So let's go to Common. All right, so this one, it's interesting. It's defined as romantasy, but it looks so very like just contemporary, and I can't decide how much I like or don't like it, but I'm so intrigued. It is available in Kindle Unlimited. It's also available in hardcover. It is book 1 of 2 of the Tales of the Mystics. Okay, so anyway, now this says, in a kingdom where romance between royalty and commoners is forbidden, loving a prince could change everything. Leah spends her days scrubbing floors, polishing silver, and meekly curtsying to nobility. Shatona spends her nights sitting in her edifice praying that the neighbors will quit smoking their stuff. Anyway, goodness, this is bad. Anyway, nothing distinguishes her from the other commoners at the palace except her budding relationship with Rafe, the handsome, respectable, and endearing crown prince of Imperia. For years, they secretly met in a closet, but after Rafe's parents force his betrothal to a foreign princess, Leah accepts a reality without their newfound love, until she discovers that the prince's fiancé is part of a plot to murder and dethrone him. Oh my goodness, it's so bad, guys. It's so bad. Just putting it out there, I live in a county in California where the use of that stuff is illegal. And it goes on all the time, as well as other stuff that is illegal all over the place, and it's killing me. Anyway, when she reports her findings, the queen banishes her for treason. Now Leah must embark on a grand adventure to rescue the prince, requiring magic, spying, and a ferocious battle. Can a common maid summon the courage to fight for love? This is an original sweet fairy tale with beautiful romance and daring adventure reminiscent of Ever After. And it says it, anyway, copies the something or another. Anyway, what I found interesting, the reason I chose this one, because it sounds way too like romancy for me. Okay. The other, like Demi's, I don't know, hers sounds like it's got more to it, but the very first review on Amazon is by a gal named Janelle Schmidt. It says 10 things I loved about this book. So it goes on and on and on through all of what she likes, and it's really good. But it says the number 6, friendship romance. I loved how Rafe and Leah were friends, and how it was obvious that they had been friends their whole lives before they fell in love. I'm not always a huge fan of romance, but the kind I tend to like best is the kind that sort of just happens naturally and feels believable as the story unfolds. This is exactly the sort and amount of romance I enjoy in the story. There were emotions and a couple of kisses, but even though their romance was central to the story, it wasn't overpowering, and the plot and character development came first. I also loved that part of the building blocks of their friendship came through Rafe teaching Leah to read when they were children. Okay, so there's more. She says the end. I can't say anything about this because spoilers, but I will say that it is beautiful and perfect, and I did not think it was going to be because the story seemed determined to prevent the ending from being anything like I was hoping for. Honorable mention, the nuns were another favorite aspect of the story. But I can't really say anything about them without giving away spoilers, so just go read the book yourself and then we can discuss. I loved that so much. So much. So seriously, what sold me on it was that review. That's why I want to read this book. I'm like, I don't know. You really should go read the review because it is just brilliant. It's what said, because I was like, no, I don't think this is one. Someone had recommended it, I think. And I was like, yeah, I don't think this is what I want. But I went and I checked out the reviews, because sometimes a 1-star review is like, oh, I'm rating that one because I'm just ticked off at your 1-star review. Didn't really find any of that kind of thing, but I found that was the very first review I saw, and I went, yes, I want this one. So, Common was the name of it, and if I like it, I will read the next one in this series. Why not? Then there is Endlewood. This one is by Alyssa Zavalianos, and I think it might be part of a... No, this one isn't the one that's part of a series. That was a different one. Anyway, this one is also available in Kindle Unlimited. It says, a tragic tale of love, loss, and hope. Anyway, in Griscoll, magic and deceit are forbidden, and to practice any form of them could lead to death. Holland doesn't know who she is. For reasons she can't explain, she's drawn to the tragic story, The Tale of Endlewood, seeking to leave home and find where she belongs, even if it means disguising her identity, an action that could cost her everything. Marcus Fenn has always known his purpose, to farm the land his father left behind, and to care for his aging mother and younger siblings. Unlike his best friend Holland, he's content with his lot in life. But when a sinister plot rocks the country of Griskel, Holland finds herself in the middle of the chaos, and Marcus's familiar rural life is upended in the midst of it. Griskel may have been right about magic all along. In this epic tale of love and loss, accompanied by mermaids, fae, and dragons, will Holland find where she truly belongs? Or will she open her heart enough to realize that home has been with her this whole time? Okay, I really don't like the end of that, but what got me is that I like the idea of especially in like fantasy / romantasy, I like the idea that we have a book where the world doesn't allow magic. And it sounds like a misuse of it has made her friend, be like, yeah, that's a good law. So I'm like, what are they going to do with this? So that's really what drew me into this one. I'm like, okay, I want to try this. I want to see if I like this. So I'm going to have to do differently than I did with Illuminary and not read a whole bunch at once, but I do want to intersperse these one after another in between other ones so that I can actually remember that I read them and what was in them, not like last time, not doing that, but I was like, yeah, I need to read more of these and see how I feel, especially with the romance aspect. I want to know if maybe, just maybe, okay, then I read A Soul as Cold as Frost last December or / early January, one of the two. I read that one, loved it. And there's more in that series that I want to read. But then I found this one while I was looking at all these. And I was like, oh my goodness. This is one of the ones I think on Thursday early morning. It was $3.08 on Amazon for the audiobook. Just throwing that out there. Now that I've bought it in my library, it's showing $22.02. So whatever. But they all did that. As soon as I bought it at the cheap price, the new price they're showing is higher. So hopefully people who have an Audible account, they can get it at the good price. Either way, the author gets paid, and that's what matters. Okay, so The Starlet... I knew I was going to do that. The Scarlet Star, Songs of the Adriels, Book 1, by Jennifer Croft. I think it's Croft. Anyway, he's a beast trapped in a palace. She's a beauty tangled in his web. 19-year-old Rin Electus is captured and brought to the palace for a 12-week trial period, along with 3 of the fairest maidens in the kingdom, to try and steal the heart of a young, tormented king with a deadly secret. Unfortunately, the king appears to have no interest in the maidens and keeps getting himself into trouble. But the king isn't the only one with a dangerous secret. Lynn has been living in hiding all these years until she's dragged from her home and put on a public stage where she finds herself in the crosshairs of the Intelligentsia, a council of sages who serve the 7 celestial divinities and conspire to destroy people like her. If the sages discover who Rin really is, she'll be dead by morning. Things get even more complicated when Rin learns what Xerxes is fighting against, the internal wars he's waging on his own, and why he keeps getting himself into trouble. However, shortly after Rin arrives at the palace, an old priestess opens Rin's eyes to see the workings of false gods at war who are influencing the kingdom. Okay, I'm not sure I'm going to say this right. The kingdom of Persiana. So it's Per-Siana, Persia, right? At every turn, dragging the people into destruction and causing chaos. Rin is forced to question everything she thought she knew about the gods until she unexpectedly gains the favor of an ancient god who's been silent for decades. The god original, the first god, enemy of celestial divinities, who beckons Rin to shake up the very foundations of the domain. Thus begins a battle fought in the shadows alongside a war of gowns and politics waged in the spotlight. I mean, so it's clearly some form of Beauty and the Beast meets Esther meets something. I don't know what that something is, but I'm here for it. So one of the reviews, that's what got me, was the idea that we're like taking fairy tales, Beauty and the Beast, and a biblical person, but it's not the same story as Esther. It's just an element of the story because this girl doesn't know God. She's going to learn alongside them and be used by him still. And so I'm like, But then again, a review. This is why reviews are beautiful. For those wondering if fairy tales and biblical stories could ever have an essence of truth or even apply to where you are in life, this book answers it with a resounding yes. Fairy tales may only be bedtime stories and the Bible an ancient book, but why discard it when there is a truth to be found that people everywhere are looking for? It says, what a tastefully and artfully crafted piece of literature. I was like, sold. That was enough for me. Just because, yes. The Scarlet Star, that was an easy, yeah, I want to read that one. That might be one of the first ones, especially like these ones that I got on audio. I feel like I will probably read those first, just because those and Cerulean Rose, because I already have them. Then the ones that are on Kindle, those will actually probably come last. The next one is The Huntress by Carrie Cotton, and the audiobook was $2.86 on Thursday morning. $2.86. I'm just saying, they're having a huge sale right now. And yeah, because yeah. So The Huntress by Carrie Cotton. I've seen this one for a couple of years now, I think. Let me see where, yeah, so it came out in 2023. I kept seeing it and I loved the cover, but I just wasn't sure about it because I don't know, my brain had Carrie Cotton in the Amish category. And so I was trying to picture her, flipping over. I think I just had her in the wrong category, period, and I didn't know what I was talking about. This is book 1 of 5, but as far as I can tell, it's the only one that is on audio. That's really sad. But anyway, I keep seeing great things about all of them. I haven't heard anyone say, yeah, it wasn't for me. That doesn't mean that there aren't people who feel that way. It is very well beloved, and so I'm hoping that means that I'm going to love it. That's what I'm going for. Okay, listen to this. Betrayed by their allies, the last of the Picts, I've always been fascinated by the Picts, I'm just saying, have escaped to the innermost part of an endless dark forest, content to remain hidden there forever. Made queen as just a child, Cyrene has given all of her life and heart to the task of making sure her people are never terrorized again. When a handsome stranger from the kingdom that betrayed them falls injured at the boundary of her village, she's forced to choose between mercy and duty. The second son of a ruling monarch, Duncan would never be considered for the throne. Neither did he wish to be. But when a plague sweeps through the land, he is the only one of royal blood left standing. Returning to the tower that holds too many dark memories, the truth of his father's tangled reign begins to unravel, and Duncan is once again forced into a role he never wanted. So, yeah, again, because yes, I mean, like, another one that I wanted was it's J.L. Knight, Resistance, Ilion Chronicles book number 1. It was also on sale, and it was $337. Also, book 2 was $308. So I bought both of those because why wouldn't I? And this one, Resistance, okay, listen to this. Don't you know animals like you have no soul? Could God ever love a half-blood all of society looks upon with such fear and disdain? Jace once believed so, but when a tragic loss shatters the only peace he's ever known, his faith crumbles as the nagging doubts he's tried to put far behind him descend on his grieving heart. With them come the haunting memories of the blood-stained past he longs to forget, but can never escape. Taken from home at a young age and raised to serve the Emperor, Chiron Altair, Probably Altair, huh? Anyway, lives every day under dangerous pretense of loyalty. After her unique observation skills and perfect memory place her into direct service to the Emperor, Chiron finds herself in further jeopardy as it becomes increasingly difficult to hide her belief in Elon, I don't know, in something, the one true God. Following the Emperor's declaration to enforce worship of false gods under penalty of death, many lives are endangered. But there are those willing to risk everything to take a stand and offer aid to the persecuted. With their lives traveling paths they never could have imagined, Jace and Chiron must fight to overcome their own fears and conflicts with society as they become part of the resistance. Now, see, to me, that also has a slight Esther feel. So again, I was looking at the reviews because that seems to be like a theme for this one. It has a map I can see in the pictures. Anyway, the title of this review is what got me. It says, it doesn't matter if you read fantasy or not. This is a must read. The reviews really are really high except for one. But 4.7 out of 5, I'm just saying. There is one religious kerfuffle. After a while, I just didn't care how it ended. 0 romance. So, but this is put under Romantasy by someone. I'm trying to remember. I think I found it on a blog that had it under Romantasy. I think that's where I found this one. So anyway, guys, I have been digging for months to try to, find these. And I'm telling you, some of them were not easy. So next up, did I get this one? I think I got this one on Audible too. It was on sale for, no, it wasn't on sale. Feels like it was though, because this also says 2202. So I think it might have been on sale and I didn't remember to write it down. So, because I bought it last night. I can't imagine that I paid full price last night when I had bought all these other ones. So that doesn't make sense. I think it might be on sale. You should look. The title is A Crown of Chains. And I'm catching a theme of a lot of Esther going on. Because here's another Esther-esque thing. It says, becoming queen is not the end of a fairy tale. It's the beginning of a nightmare. When the queen is exiled, every beautiful woman in Florencia is forced to become king's maids, royal concubines, but one lucky girl from those gathered will be chosen as queen. Or maybe not so lucky. Roxana Willows, a wingless fairy with the rare ability to read minds, has seen King Frederick's cruelty in the stories her uncle tells, and fears that the only thing worse than being a king's maid is being the king's wife. While her heart already belongs to another, she feels obligated to obey her uncle when he tells her to hide her heritage as a fairy in hopes of being chosen as queen. But becoming queen is the last thing Roxana wants, and it will cost her everything. This says, A Crown of Chains is a fantasy retelling of the biblical story of Queen Esther with fresh twists based on the original context that is sure to thrill in this timeless tale of miracles in the midst of forgotten faith, filled with political intrigue, the forbidden romance, and dire stakes. A Crown of Chains is perfect for fans of Red Queen, The Selection, and The Cruel Prince. I'm terrible because I don't know what any of those are, but okay. Anyway, and the reason I chose this one was because I have just talked to Megan Shawless, who wrote the Susa Chronicles. There's 3 books in the Susa Chronicles. So I just talked with her on Wednesday night, and we were talking about the last book in that series. So the first in the Susa Chronicles, it's a dystopian sort of Esther story where you have enhanced. So basically, instead of becoming the queen, you're becoming bodyguards, and she's competing with women who have been enhanced genetically through nanotechnology type stuff. And so she's got to compete as a normal in this whole thing and tried to get in there because reasons, right? And but then, so the first book, you really need both books. It's really volume 1, volume 2 of one story. And so you really want to read both of them back to back. You get a cliffhanger. I know this much. I haven't read it yet, but you get a cliffhanger at the end of book 1. And then you read book 2. But book 3 can be read as a standalone, although it's a little richer if you've read the others because you know who he is in those. And so it was a great time just chatting about how she had to write that guy and all the things, right? But yeah, the Sousa Chronicles, I because I got done with this, I'm like, okay, that doesn't fit my whole romantasy kind of thing, because this is dystopian, and that's spec fic, but it's not fantasy in the same way. And so I was like, I don't know. But then I started thinking, but what about, romantasy that has that Queen Esther kind of feel to it? And found The Crown of, that was actually one of the first ones that I found last night. And then I had to go find my list of ones I've been saving all year and all the different things, and I couldn't find a couple of them, so then I went looking for more. It's been a night, but these are the 7 that I want to read. I don't know which one I'm going to read first. I think, well, physically I will read Cerulean Rose first, but I mean, audiobook wise, you should tell me, which one do you think I should read first? I'm just going to look at this document again and see if I can remember. Oop, come on. I think The Scarlet Star is the one I want to read first. But I'm a little fascinated by, no, that one's not. Because I was thinking, find out what this common thing is. But I'm looking for the audio. The audio is what I'm looking for. So that would be Scarlet Star, Huntress, Resistance, or Crown of Chains. It's got to be one of those. Not sure which. I think I want the Scarlet Star though, because that, A, it sounds really amazing, but also B, I know I love Jennifer Croft, so I mean, there's that. But anyway, so yeah, those are the 7 that I'm gonna try. I'm gonna see, because I love fantasy, and I think it's a way that romance kind of fits, because it's in and of itself, it's a romantical type thing. Just the whole fairy tale vibe that comes with fantasy. Even if it's not a fairy tale, it's got that vibe, And so I'm thinking that's why I want to try it. So anyway, I have to choose one of those, and I would love your input, but I'm thinking Scarlet Star, unless you guys give me a reason. Have you read any of them? Which one am I going to love? Do I have one? Did I buy one for $3 that I'm not going to love, so don't bother with? That's why I went ahead and bought them instead of waiting for you guys to tell me, right? Because I was like, I don't know. I want to read Megan Chalice's books too, and did I buy them? Yeah, I ordered all 3 from her on after we chatted, so those are coming. But so I'm gonna wait for them. And then obviously the Cerulean Rose. But speaking of talking to someone on the podcast, I want to ask something else, and this is really important. So please listen in, okay? When I originally did the Because Fiction podcast, I started to upload the episodes to YouTube, and I was like, it doesn't feel like it fits. Because back then, it was just about my books. That was before I did BookTube. And I was like, it doesn't feel like it fits what I was doing with my YouTube channel. So I stopped doing that. And I mean, I only got a few up. But now that basically I have BookTube, and these are all chatting with authors that I'm usually reading and talking with, would it annoy you guys if I went ahead and let them upload to YouTube? Because there are people that keep asking for them on YouTube. I don't really want to start a whole new channel. That seems like such a bad idea. I can't, I don't know. I don't have time to manage 2, but I could manage 1. But that would mean that there'd be 2 of those each week that would be like invading feeds for people who aren't interested in it. But I mean, I don't expect everyone to just watch something because it comes up on the channel. So I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, is it gonna bother you if it does come up in between the regular videos? Because if it's not, I'm going to turn that switch on and let that happen. because I think it would be a good idea. But it's only a good idea if it's not going to annoy you, because this is about me chatting about the books that I like, which I get a lot from those. But it's also it's about just interacting with you guys, and that isn't an interaction with you. That would just like be bonus content or something. I don't know. Anyway, tell me what you think. Tell me if it's going to bother you. I need to know before I do this. There are people who want it on YouTube, so I'm going to have to start a second channel. I really don't want to, but one way or another, I have to get them up. People are waiting, and that's just wrong. So, you know, I need to make it available, but which way? That's what I need to know. Please let me know. Meanwhile, reading, I finished Theo of Golden. Loved it. Can't wait to talk about it. Finished Marvels and Misadventures. That book is way deeper than I expected. It had way more depth and richness, and really taught me a lot. I didn't expect all of that from it. I thought it was going to be a light, fluffy book. And it can be if you're not really reading it. It should be preachy in places, and it isn't, because Angela Bell did it really well. Can't wait to talk about that. I'm in the middle of Who Am I to Judge? This is, well, not in the middle of it. I'm in the first quarter/third of it, and loving it. It is, it started off with a bang, and it's going to be really good. I can tell. I'm so excited about it. Also, I finished Fire Mountain, and now I'm listening to Raging Waters by Dana Mentink, and those are both really, really good. Can't wait to talk about those. And yeah, I'm going to be listening to one of these once Raging Waters is done. Don't know which. Anyway, so it's seriously, in the last 2 days, I think I've bought 12 audiobooks, because they were like $2-3 a piece. I'm like, I need these books. One of the cheap ones was Pepper Basham's Some Like It Scott. Do I want to grab that before it's off sale? Someone please tell me. And yeah, so anyway, that's what I have. I'll be back on Monday telling you what I have finished. There should be a couple more. I should have Who Am I to Judge and Raging Waters done by then for sure. We'll have stuff to talk about. And yeah, hope you have a great weekend. Please tell me A, which of these romantasies I should read, and B, what you think about me letting the Because Fiction interviews show up on here. Anyway, I'll see you later. I hope you have a great weekend.